Good morning to you. This is another Monday. It's another week. It is the 13th of May, 2024. Good morning once again and welcome to the show. My name is Gesiere Agua. It's a brand new week. Let's start the week on a very, very excited and happy note. We have a lot to cover this morning, but this is the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Gesiere is my name. And of course, we're checking out some of the headlines and trending stories. And you know how we do it on the show. Every single day we start from now to check out the headlines. 7:15, we'll check out who said what in the news. Then also we'll be checking out a conversation with Rufai Oseni at 7:30. And right after that, we'll have one with Mr. Larry Ogwego. So make sure that you're keeping it locked right here on VOP 96.1 FM. Starting the show this morning, a lot happened over the course of the weekend. We had Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, visiting Nigeria. They moved from one place to the other. And yes, the trip ended on a very, very lovely note. It was a 72-hour trip, and yes, they came to Nigeria because of the Invictus Games, trying to see military personnel who were injured in the course of service. And the Invictus Games brings together all those people, and Nigeria debuted in that particular Invictus Games organized by Prince Harry. And Nigeria featured for the first time last year, and we're looking to host another one moving forward, and hence the visit to from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry visit to Nigeria. And it ended on a very, very excited note. We'll check that out in a bit. Also, what happened over the course of the weekend? Of course, this is news from around, so we'll be checking out some entertainment stories as well. AMVCAs went ahead to honor different actors and actresses, skit makers, as well as different people within the Nollywood industry who have done one thing or the other to make a name for themselves. We'll be checking that out in a moment. Those who received what awards, we'll be checking that out in a bit. But in a bit to find out what exactly is happening in Rivers State, the president has intervened in the Rivers political crisis, and Mr. Femi Falana SAN has said the president's intervention in that particular crisis is completely constitutional. It's extra legal. That's what he says. We'll be checking that out in a moment. But Labour today is set to begin their protests rather, is beginning their protests on electricity tariff hike. It's beginning today. The organized labor will today commence nationwide protests over the electricity tariff hike and removal of subsidy from the power sector by the federal government. The National Treasurer of the NLC, Olatunji Ambali, and the National Deputy President of the TUC, Tomi Etim, confirmed the planned protests to the newsmen in separate interviews on Sunday, insisted on the reversal of the tariff hike to the subsidy era. The labor action is expected to lead to the shutdown of the Abuja headquarters of the NERC and the Ministry of Power and state offices of power distribution companies. The NERC announced the hike in the electricity tariff for Band A customers at a press briefing in Abuja on April 3rd, revealing that those affected would pay 225 naira per kilowatt hour, up from the previous rate of 68 naira per kilowatt hour. The hike represented a 240% increase. So, the development marked the removal of subsidy from the tariff of customers in Band A category, who constituted about 15% of the total 12.82 million power consumers across the country. Well, let's find out just what exactly is going to happen. Will the federal government bow to the pressure of Labour and go ahead and say, okay, we will remove the tariff hike, looking at the situation in the country at the moment, even though the IMF has come out to tell the federal government to stop the electricity subsidy? It's warned the Nigerian government to remove what is called implicit fuel and electricity subsidies. Now, in a report published recently by the IMF, the organization told Nigeria that the subsidies would guzzle 3% of the nation's GDP in 2024, as against 1% in the year before. So, according to the report, IMF commended the federal government for, among other things, things, phasing out costly and regressive energy subsidies, saying that it was critical to creating fiscal space for development spending and strengthening social protection while maintaining debt sustainability. So the president's administration, this administration removed fuel subsidy during his inauguration on May 29th. And the IMF has, however, noted that the adequate compensatory measures for the poor were not scaled up promptly and subsequently paused over corruption concerns. So, looking at what's happening at the moment, the IMF is warning the federal government to remove subsidies on any kind, either on fuel or electricity as well. Who's going to be at the brunt of that? We'll be checking that out in a moment. So, we have the Rivers State, what exactly is happening in Rivers State at the moment? The Wike and Fubara clash, right? So Rivers Assembly, Fubara pro-Wike lawmakers were clashing over the relocation of the state house. So the Rivers State government and lawmakers loyal to the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, on Sunday disagreed over the executive order which relocated the sitting of the State House of Assembly to the auditorium of the administrative block of the government house in Port Harcourt. The order, which was released by the state governor Siminalayi Fubara on Friday, is contained in the state's official gazette tagged Executive Order of the Rivers State Government 001, while the State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Joseph Johnson, insisted that Fubara had the power to relocate the State Assembly. The pro-Wike lawmakers described the relocation as illegal. As the governor and Winke's loyalists disagreed on the assembly relocation, the pro-Fubara lawmakers on Sunday invited Danagogo Iboroma, SAN, for screening and confirmation on Monday as a member of the state executive. The drama playing out in that state is beyond understanding, because why will you leave the policy? Why will you leave politicking? Why will you leave governance, and you are being used as a crony, you're being used as a pawn in a fight between Wike and Fubara? And Wike also, over the course of the weekend, came out to talk about the fact that he made a mistake. Forgive him, that we should forgive him for making a mistake in choosing Fubara as, for anointing Fubara as his successor in Rivers State. He said mistakes can be made, and he's apologizing for that. And don't worry, that mistake will be corrected. What that means, we don't know, because we know that there's a move to try to impeach Fubara as the governor of the state. So at the moment, Wike has the majority in the state assembly, going by what's happening at the moment. But if the 24 lawmakers who are loyal to Wike are seen constitutionally to not be lawmakers, right, then Fubara will have the upper hand. So let's see how all this drama plays out. But these people, quote unquote, were elected by the people to be representatives of them in the State House of Assembly, but they're letting themselves being segued from politicking, from the governance, from the business of governance of the day, and they're being used as pawns in the war against Wike and Fubara. Because what is Ewinke's interest in Rivers State? He has his own state, quote unquote, to run. So why won't he focus and allow Fubara focus on the growth of his state? Already we're seeing different strides that Fubara is making to ensure that the state grows or the state moves according to what is in the news. But will Ewinke allow him to lead his people? Well, let's see how all that plays out. There was a video over the course of the weekend. There was a video of a 4-year-old girl circulating on social media circulated by her father. So the police has gone ahead to arrest the father over inappropriate videos of a 4-year-old. If you check social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, and all the other places, you would see a video of this child being used. She was dressed in very, very inappropriate inner clothings, inner wears. That's what she was dressed in. Now, the police authorities in Edo State have arrested a man over a viral video involving his 4-year-old daughter. Force spokesperson Muyiwa Adejobi, in his Sunday statement, said the arrest followed an outcry that greeted the video, which portrays the young child in appropriate clothings akin to adult content. Now, the force expresses profound shock and grave concern over the apparent exploitation of this vulnerable child and unequivocally condemns such actions in the strongest terms possible. This is according to the statement. Prima facie investigations indicate the involvement of the child's father, who has been apprehended by the police at the Auchi Divisional Police Headquarters in Edo State Police Command. Every necessary measure is being implemented to ensure that justice is swiftly served. As the investigation unfolds, it's imperative to establish proactive measures to guide and counsel parents, preventing the proliferation of such anomalies in our society. It's crucial for caregivers to also prioritize the security of minors and seek assistance or guidance where required. Now, if you see this video of this girl, she was wearing innerwears, and she was in a public space with her father. There were other videos. This is consecutive videos, about 4 of them or 5 of them circulating on social media, where the father is seen to be having inappropriate physical, I don't even know the English to use at this point, inappropriate physical, having very inappropriate kisses with a 4-year-old on camera. You could see that it was intentional. You could see that he did it intentionally in that video. Now, the public outcry tagged the police to ensure that this particular individual was apprehended. You begin to wonder, why will some parents allow themselves to use their children in ways like this? But we'll get into all that in a moment. But first of all, let's check out who said what in the news today. Now, in a very, very interesting turn of events, we saw the Minister of Power, Minister Bayo Adelabu, yesterday sharing bags of rice in Oyo State, distributing 10,000 bags of rice to over 10 million people in the state. Now, there's been a lot of controversies concerning that video as to why he would leave power and be sharing rice to Nigerians. Let's take a listen.
Oyo State, on behalf of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, I'm handing over 10,000 bags of rice to all the people of Oyo State to enjoy as the phase 1 of the food security palliative under the New Hope agenda of Tinubu administration. May God help us. Amen. Thank you.
All right, so that was the video showing the Minister of Power, Bayo Adelabu, flagging off the distribution of 10,000 bags of rice to over 15 million people in the state. You can imagine the reactions pouring in, considering the epileptic power supply that we've been having in the past couple of months. So someone said, Minister of Power, they share rice now? Hey, only in Nigeria. This one says, as this day and age, no pandemic, no disaster, no famine, and a great country like ours is still distributing food to its citizens. This is very sad. From Minister of Power to Humanitarian Minister or Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Egmo, go face the issue of epileptic power supply. Another one says, it's those that are clapping for him that I blame. Very, very mediocre. They should have asked him to fix the lights. Abi, if you fix the lights with the rice, you can imagine Nigerians coming out with their reactions to this particular video. Because what is the Minister of Power seen doing, sharing bags of rice to over 15 million people when the humanitarian minister is there? When there are different offices that are in charge of things like that. So what is he doing? Leaving his primary place of assignment and focusing on another thing. What is he standing to gain from that? You begin to ask these politicians, when they give you work, focus on your focus. You are leaving it to face another one. Anyway, we get to different reactions to that in a moment. Also in the news is Senator Ali Ndume talking about the cybersecurity levy, and the president has directed the suspension of the cybersecurity levy. So let's get what Mr. Ali Ndume, Senator Ali Ndume, has to say about this.
The president has now acted, and we'll go back to the drawing table to look at the act again. When this administration came on board, the first issue that needed to be addressed is the issue of cybercrime. And it's part of the purpose of government as outlined in Section 14.2 of our Constitution, that the purpose of government is security and welfare of its citizens. And cybercrime is part of a security, very important one. So that's why we were the government was in a hurry to look at the law, enabling law, which was signed in 2015, and then kind of strengthen it and give more powers to the institutions charged with that responsibility to ensure efficiency and to address the serious cybercrime, which is ravaging this country, spoiling our reputation and name because of the incessant and increased cybercrime going on in Nigeria. But I would add to say quickly that we are in a hurry. And so we were not able to look at the nitty-gritty of the issue until the CBN made that announcement. And also, they didn't look at it very well. And you see the reaction of Nigerians was not good. Of course, it is expected because going through this, looking at the situation we find ourselves with a lot of burden on the common man and the low-income persons, it is not the intent of this government to add another burden on the poor, the middle class especially, and the low-income earners or Nigerians in general. So I still want to commend the president for that, and as I said, I was expecting him to do that. But I also want to urge Nigerians to agree with this government that this cybercrime issue is something that needs to be critically the laws need to be critically upgraded. Mm-hmm. But let me add here again that there was a lot of, I was looking at the law after the outcry by Nigerians and discovered that honestly there are some lapses here and there that need to be addressed. For example, the levy is supposed to be 0.5% of value of the electronic transaction. But the law did not clearly state who is going to take responsibility. And that's why Nigerians are worried. Although the CBN circular, as I looked at it, Section 44.2 clearly indicates the institutions or the businesses that is supposed to take on bear the cost of the levy. It specifically said GSM service providers and all telecommunication companies, 2, internet service providers, bank and other financial institutions, insurance companies, Nigerian Stock Exchange. But it failed to actually and clearly state who is going to take that burden. Is it these mentioned institutions as part of their operational cost? Or is it going to be levy that will be paid by individuals? I think that is one area. Even though they went ahead in the circular to list out some organizations that are exempted. That I saw I think it was reported by Tribune or so, that in that levy, exemption is made to loan disbursement and repayment, salary payments, intra-account transfers, intra-bank transfers between customers of the bank, other financial institutions, instruction to their correspondent banks, interbank placements, bank transfers to CBN and vice versa, interbranch transfers within banks, check clearing and settlement, letters of credit, banks recapitalization-related funding, savings and deposits, including long-term investments, government social welfare programs, payments, non-profit and charitable transactions, educational institution transactions, and finally, transactions involving banks' internal accounts. So if you look at that, that means actually the ordinary Nigeria is not affected or is not going to be responsible for the payment of the levy, but the institutions earlier listed, 5.
All right. Well, that was the voice of Senator Ali Ndume talking about the cybersecurity levy and the discrepancies involved in it. Well, we'll get more details because the president has suspended that particular circular from going forward. So let's find out more details from it in a bit. So there's still the Rivers State crisis, and let's get the perspective of the law on that particular issue.
Either one is ignorant or the person is running away from the truth because of politics. Nigeria has to grow. Our country has a bad name outside because of corruption. Corruption, if you even give advantage to somebody, it doesn't mean collecting money alone. It's a corrupt practice. These things are not good. They should know. It's very clear from even what I've adumbrated here. So long as they have left this remainder, it is from them you choose a speaker for that day.
So
and that's it.
In other words, what the president did, because I'm sure you're following developments where the president tried to give some form of a political solution to all of this, that doesn't subsist in the face of what the constitutional provision has stated.
No, in the first place, if the president comes in as a father, no matter who is wrong in the family, and the father comes in and says, come, let's make peace. If the parties accept the peace, fine. But if in the course of implementation of that peace accord, some of them also derail, he's run back to the law. So what the president did, I also had some people saying the president was right or wrong, rather. That's very unfortunate. It is even commendable that our president had time to think about bringing peace in his family. It's commendable. And I commend President Tinubu for doing that. And I had thought, for me, that the two parties would have taken advantage of that privilege to maintain peace in Rivers State and save the Rivers people and save the image of Nigeria.
You know, listening to you, Professor Agbazure, it looks so simple and easy. And one worries because some of the key characters in this are lawyers. The FCT minister is a lawyer. A lot of people across the political divide are lawyers like yourself. In pushing forward to a resolution, even though the court has spoken now, say that, look, your seats are vacant, how do we push ahead with this in a very legal and peaceful manner? Even
within our jurisprudence, we have provision for what we call alternative dispute resolution.
ADR.
ADR, which is part of what Mr. President did. So even as it is now, if the parties agree before the court or any court and say, look, we want to go and make peace, the courts are there. It's even part of...
All right. Well, that was the voice of Anthony Agbazure, who is the professor of law, Gregory University. He was the one making this statement at the moment. Well, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle visited Nigeria, and the governor of Lagos State welcomes them to Lagos and thanks them for their work in the military. Let's listen to that.
Yes, and the things that at the State House here and Marina, and we're excited with all of the ideas and the things that they're planning to do, especially with the office of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, and his lovely wife that is also here. We just want to assure you, gentlemen of the press, that for Prince Harry, this is it's been a very interesting and very informative trip to the country. He's seen a lot. He's still soaking in a whole lot. And part of the things that we're hoping that he will also take away is to see the diversity, and the extent, of how big our country is and how we continue to ensure that we live, together in peace and harmony, and how what role Lagos plays in that whole conversation. They've been to Kano, they've been to Abuja, here now in Lagos. I'm sure they have their own experience of what Nigeria looks like. And we've extended additional invitation to them that they can always come back, when they want to. Also knowing fully well that Megan has, a decent percentage of Nigerian in her, all right? And we've said, we've sort of like agreed that maybe that percentage should stay in Yoruba land. I don't know, right? But it's okay. I can see she's been well.
All right. Well, that was the voice of the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, talking and giving a welcome address to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex here in Nigeria. They've left, and it was a very lovely visit for them. And hopefully we see more ties like this moving forward. Well, we'll be reaching out to Mr. Rufai Oseni in a bit to have conversations concerning the headlines this morning. Keep it locked. You're welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. If you are just tuning in, this is the Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. This is the Front Page Review Show. And of course, we're checking out different headlines this morning. We are also live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. We are live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. And this morning, we have Mr. Rufai Oseni on the phone this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Rufai. Welcome.
Morning, guys. Quick feedback. So, can we always make the stream available so I can reshare?
Pardon?
Yeah, all right.
Pardon me, what did you say?
I said, can we also make the streams available for me so that I can reshare across platforms?
Definitely. We'll do that.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Rufai. How's your weekend?
It's all right.
Did you perhaps see meet up with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle?
Prince Harry?
Yes, and Meghan Markle. Did you and Duchess?
They had a fun time. Had a fun time, but for me, I'm a little taken aback by the, I don't have any problems with the red carpet treatment. I mean, they have fans, but for the fact that I was seeing a military salute and inspection of guard, I don't know in what capacity, because he's not a working royal. We should never forget that. We have ties with Britain. He's not a working royal, and they choose not to be working royals any longer. So, charity funfair, good. Yeah, that's on them. But salutes and things like that. No, I didn't subscribe to all of that. But it was a good one for them. And outing on the Victor's game that Harry started a couple of years ago after his experiences on the war front. Captain Wales, as it was formerly called then, and something to be able to boost the morale of military officers and all of that were injured on the wars. And it's very good. And it raised a very tough subject about veterans. And, a couple of other schools that the Archibald Foundation have been, empowering and things like that. So, I mean, a lot of charity work. It's a good outing for them and all of that.
All right. Okay, let's move on to things here in Nigeria and some of the issues that we're facing at the moment. Well, first of all, let's talk about Rivers State. We saw what played out over the course of the weekend. The move to relocate the State House of Assembly into the administrative block as well. So, seeing all that, seeing the police being deployed into that particular area to prevent the demolition of the quarters or the alleged demolition of the quarters, we also saw the fact that the president intervened in the Rivers political crisis, and Mr. Femi Falana has come out to say that it's extra legal for the president to intervene in that particular crisis. Well, we're just wondering how much drama, how much more we can take in Rivers State.
Truth is, the president ruined everything in the first place. I thought the president would have just told Mr. Wiki, let this governor be. He's already a governor. But you intervened and you told the man to sign something that will never favor him, that was anti-constitutional. In the process, the president said we should recognize lawmakers that are defected when we know what the constitution said about them. So I think he had ruined the matter, but that's why Fubara is fighting back. But Fubara too should not be extreme in his fight back. We should be careful. Most important thing, let them see how they can navigate these waters and ensure that people of Rivers really get the true governance they deserve. Because all of can you hear me, Jesse?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
So as all of their fight is getting too much, and I think it's affecting governance in Rivers State, and that state needs a lot of governance. And I think that should be the priority. So all of their endless fights is just getting too much.
All right. Over the weekend, we saw a Wike talking about the fact that he made a mistake to support Fubara. I mean, he must make a lot of mistakes because he seems to be fighting any single person who doesn't agree with him.
He didn't make a mistake. I beg you, stop talking. He didn't make a mistake. When he was imposing the man on the people against the will of other people, because people like Wiki talking like that because they could get away with anything. That's why they were speaking. Huh? He say he made a mistake. Are you the people? Are you the one thinking for the people? No.
All right, let's move on to Labour.
In the first place. No, he didn't make any mistake.
All right, moving on to Labour. Members of Organised Labour, they've announced that they would shut down offices of the NERC and discos nationwide. And they said the offices would be under lock and key until the federal government accedes to their request to total reversal of the electricity tariff hike. What's your take on this? Because the process is starting today. So what's your take on this?
Quite extreme, but government needs to look at that request again. Because when you look at the empirical facts, the NERC, really, initially their projections is not even up to that. Not even the 260 now they've reduced it to. But, also Labour's way of doing it, because let's not also forget the fact that these are privately run companies and things like that. And, and I think it's the NERC obviously are picketing. I'm not sure that the discos don't have any power as much, really. Because if you're going to shut down the discos, they're private business. They need to be able to generate their own revenue and all of that and keep body and soul together. And it's quite a very tough climate for them as we speak now. So for businesses, I feel bad for them. But government too should look at that big ecosystem called the electricity tariff now and see what they can do as regards it.
All right, because we understand that right now this electricity tariff hike is one thing that is needed, especially looking at the cost of production for the discos, the gencos, the entire ecosystem, the electricity ecosystem. We know that.
No. I don't think that's what's needed. Because when you look at it, the government buys in bulk. There's something called MBET, bulk purchase agreements. All of those people, so it's not needed. This one that I said, okay, the cost of gas has bumped up and things like that. It's a way. What they should really think of doing is to be able to prorate cost. And see, let's not deceive ourselves. Every economy, one way or the other, really subsidizes power and energy. Why do you think China is a big manufacturer now? Because energy is highly subsidized also in China. So, but the truth also is because we've mismanaged our wealth and we don't have money. Most of the money we used to use supply into production and things like that, we've spent it on corruption. We've wasted it on corruption. And that's why we're having all these problems. So, and because we don't have money now, we're looking for all these cuts and all of that.
Mm.
So I think what we should do is also fix our systems there, yeah, and also gradually ease off into a regime where we can, now start having all of these cost effective tariffs. Yeah, I get that argument to mutual investors coming, but you can't pass it on to them as cost now because at the same time, people are suffering. People are paying taxes on everything. We've paid taxes on devaluation. We've paid taxes on electricity. We've paid the cybersecurity levy. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can't keep overburdening the people. At some point, the people are going to scream.
Mm. All right, let's move on to Bielsa State. Governor Doye Diri, he said the country's has a lopsided federalism practice, and it is what has hindered the development of states. He's calling for a review of revenue derivation formula in line with the practice of fiscal federalism. According to him, Bielsa State cannot continue to use its money to develop another state. There's a lot to nitpick out of this particular conversation, right? But what do you think about this statement?
I mean, there's nothing that he said that's not been said before. Let's not deceive ourselves. So, yeah, we always have a lopsided federalism. Seem to favor some over some because some people ask you that, okay, where's all the gold in Zamfara? How is it feeding back into the national purse? But the oil in Niger Delta is easily feeding into the national purse. So what is really going on here? I mean, these are questions people are asking, and that's why the government too must be able to answer these questions and bring solutions to the niggling challenges we have. They've talked about allowing people control their resource and all of that. I mean, if you revert back to the 63 constitution of this country, every region that had mineral resource would just pay a certain percentage of their proceeds to the government. They control their resource. But that's not the case any longer. So I think these are things we should really look at. And that's why I've been calling for a sort of national conference and pure conversations about this.
Mm. All right. Moving on from that, we had the IMF warning the Nigerian government to remove implicit fuel and electricity subsidies. In a report that they published recently, they told Nigeria that the subsidies would guzzle about 3% of the nation's GDP, as against 1% from the year before. I know the IMF is almost always making statements. Some you've agreed with, some you haven't agreed with. But is this a statement that you agree with?
Obviously, you know my answer. I don't agree with it now. You remember this video trending online of a baby crying, saying, Shefe Pamini.
Mm.
And that's what it is. That do you want to kill people? You want to kill people? I say remove electricity, remove time. At a time where inflation is over 34%. Eh? So no.
All
It's,
right.
it's just it's just funny. I mean, no. This is too much now. When you remove all those cushioning effects and all of that, okay, look at let me give you an instance. 20K for 90 units. Do you know what that does to the dying line? And revenue streams have not increased. That's in my case. Our revenue streams have not increased. What is even the economy like? I mean, we run two radio stations, Lagos and Abuja. We have lean revenue. It's a hassle to pay salaries. Does the IMF know what Nigerian businesses are suffering? We in the media space, for instance, and we don't get subvention and every time. We must run this home every time. Because we must keep our audience informed.
Mm.
Everybody's raising tariffs. Look at DSTV now. For dual views, it's 42,000. 42,000. As of 2019 was 18 or 19,000. But you can see how prices have gone up. All of this because of the devaluation. It is the same cocktail of devaluation IMF pushed for us. That's what has killed us up to this extent now. The currency has lost about 200% of its value vis-a-vis inflation.
Hmm. All right. right. Looking at the situation in hand, I do not think that the Nigerians can afford any more taxes in whatever way, any more extra payments at this point. Especially looking at the fact that revenue hasn't increased, the purchasing power of the naira hasn't increased either. So maybe we should just calm down on all the extra things Nigerians need to pay on,
Uh,
and at least the promises that have been made so far. You've been making promises, right? Let's see one at least come to fruition. Let's see one come to fruition.
Shai MFA Pawani. Uh-uh.
Mr.
It's sad
Rufai,
now.
there's a video surfacing that surfaced over the course of the weekend of Mr. Bayo Adelabu, the Minister of Power. He was distributing 10,000 bags of rice to people in Oyo State. And Nigerians have been asking, is this your place of primary? Is this your place of primary? What's it called again? Is this your PPP? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? When there's epileptic power supply, there's issues in the electricity sector that needs your full
See,
attention, and
you
you are
see,
sharing
you
rice.
see, you see, it's just the way they've now turned Nigerians into. So Nigerians have now become a handout country where people do charity, they share rights to Nigerians, and they feel that because they don't have any means of living, because the leaders have made us deliberately poor over the years, the economy has battered us. But don't forget that Mr. Biden was a politician first. Even this position he got to the power sector was because of the fact that he's a politician, his governorship candidate. So he needs to reach out to his base at a time like this so that he'll be seen as doing something for his base. But it just speaks volumes about our systems. I mean, it speaks volumes about our system.
All right. Still looking at just how deplorable things have gotten. There was a video that surfaced. I just want to get your 2 cents on it before we wrap up. There was a video that surfaced of a father. I don't know if you saw it, and his daughter, a 4-year-old girl. She was completely scantily clad in a public space. He was having drinks with his friends, and she was completely scantily clad, and he was having physical, I don't know what to call it, he was kissing this young girl, or inappropriately, very
That's abuse.
inappropriately. the
That's
police
abuse.
the police in Edo State have gone ahead to arrest him, but we're
Mhm.
hearing allegations of adult content that have been created with this particular child in a bid for the father to make some money. I mean, this is something that can happen if you're seeing failures of the system of governance here in Nigeria.
Yeah, but we should still maintain public decorum and public morality. I mean, I think the police should step in, and the appropriate quarters also should step in, and also the counseling unit of the police force should be able to talk to the girl, and we should be able to check if the father is still fit to be a father for the girl. I mean, it speaks volumes. But the question we also ask is, where is the social welfare system?
Mm,
Because in similar climes, they would have taken her into welfare. But in Nigeria, if you take somebody into welfare, it's more problems and more challenges.
mm.
So it's sad.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rafai, for your time. We absolutely
Bless you.
appreciate.
Bless you. Bless you.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Have a good one. Bless you.
To you listening, well, you can join the conversation 0700 010 961 961 0700 961 Call the studios and let's have a conversation about what's happening in our country. We need to let our voices be heard, whether you like it or not. We need our voices to be heard in every conversation that is going on at the moment. Well, I've got bills to pay. In a bit, I will be speaking with Mr. Larry Ogwego. Do keep it locked right here. Thank you for staying tuned. This is still the VOP 96.1 FM, and we're still talking headlines this morning. We have Mr. Larry on the phone this morning. Good morning to you and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
All right,
So
Mr.
how's
Larry.
the new week shaping up?
It's going well. It's going well already. Thank you so much. All right, let's begin with let's look at River State. I mean, this is one particular conversation that a lot of people admittedly are tired of talking about. But there's a new development. The factional House of Assembly, led by the Speaker, Victor Oko-Jumbo, he has invited a commissioner nominee, Danagogo Iboroma, for screening and confirmation as a member of the state executive. In a letter signed by the factional clerk, they asked Iboroma to appear before the House on Monday by 10 a.m. So, looking at all of this, you begin to wonder who actually legally is the Speaker of the House of Assembly.
There are two ways to look at this question, but the only legitimate way is the legal way, based on the rule of law. And if we want to operate with the rule of law, which is the only way a democracy operates, then it means we will stand with the last court's judgment that restrained the 27 as parading themselves as lawmakers until that particular order is vacated. That is actually what it is. However you see the order, it's not a material at this point. By law, once a court makes the pronouncement, it's binding until it's vacated. So if you take that, then it means that the 27 has to wait for now until they're able to either vacate the other or something superior to the other gives. But as it is now, it appears that they are sitting on the bench until further notice. I actually alluded to the fact when they threatened the governor that something was going to happen, because the way Nigeria works, the one of the weapons that politicians use now, basically one of the major weapons they use is court order here and there. And since most of them can influence the courts, somehow, I'm not saying that this judgment was obtained through influence, but unfortunately, that particular influence has littered our political landscape. So as it is now, the 27 may have to wait for quite some time until they sort out the legal logjam. But if a court says don't parade yourself as a member of the House of Assembly.
Hello.
Yes, I was saying that if they still pretend that they are members of the House or insist that they are functioning as members of the House, that it amounts to contempt of court. So until they are able to vacate the order, as it is now, the three may hold sway. It may sound funny, but that's the present situation, because there's a clear cut order that says don't parade yourself as this, which means don't say you are this, don't act as if you are this. And as it is now, they have to wait and then do what they can to take care of that restraining order.
All right. So this issue in River State, we're still seeing a lot of unnecessary drama because the presidency has said that the president will not take sides between Ewike and Ifubara. Looking at that, the president seems to be playing to the gallery at this point. He seems to not want to meddle, but he's already meddled, whether we like it or not, by the peace pact that he first of all had them take on, right? Looking at this issue, according to the presidency, the president won't allow any attempt to frustrate the Rivers government. So how come he has still not said Ewike should stand down and let the governance in Rivers State continue?
If we want to tell ourselves the truth, the president cannot force Wike to stand down. First of all, Wike didn't announce that he's the person who is causing the problem. So you can advise Wike You can influence him, but you cannot give him an instruction and say, stand down. He didn't say he's the cause of the problem in the first place. So I think we also need to understand that the president has limited powers, to the extent that he can't call Wike and say, Wike, solve all the problems in River State. Wike can tell you, oh, that might beat, you did a peace accord, he refused to obey it. The point I'm making is that the president can persuade, the president can influence, but it's not a simple matter of, oh, do this, Wike, do that. And you should also realize that the president is owing Wike a political one there. Yes, you can say that he has rewarded him with a ministerial position, but politics has not ended. So the president has to tread cautiously. Yes, he can probably untwist Wike, but he may not want to do that. I think the declaration of neutrality is very good for Nigerian politics. So we have to watch to see how neutral he's going to be, because we know that presidents are very powerful in Nigeria. There are several things a president can do to put a governor in a difficult position. You know, so the best thing he has done for this crisis in recent times is to declare publicly that we're going to be neutral. But let's also see how neutral that neutral will be. He cannot force Wike. We have to be fair to him about that. But he can influence Wike. I think that if he really decides to exercise that influence, Wike may back down. But the question is, how far is he willing to go for the peace in River State? And when you put that against the political intrigues that may be going on presently between APC and PDP, and considering that they're already talking about 2027, where they have not settled down to the work after the last election. So Nigeria is a very peculiar nation. And unfortunately, our politicians are more interested in their political interest and political future than they are in the interest of the people and the future of the people. It's very sad, but that's the reality. So all of them will be treading cautiously. They are more interested in securing their positions politically than in, what we think, how blessed we are by their leadership and all those considerations. So the president is treading cautiously.
All right. Even in treading cautiously, right? Where's the place of the people in all of this? Where's the place of the president looking at, okay, if this continues, we're going to have the Nigerian people suffer? Because I mean, we've said it before that when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that will suffer. Yes, there might be, there might be sores here and there on the elephants, but the ground will suffer. So can't the president look at the fact that, okay, the River State people might be the ones to be suffering if he does not prevail upon this particular situation?
It takes a certain level of statesmanship and integrity from Mr. President to really sit down, detach himself emotionally from party affiliations and personal interests and personal affiliations, to call a spade, and then put pressure on certain persons to resolve this matter. You have to understand that, like I said earlier, Mr. President is first and foremost a politician, and then secondly an APC man, and then he's a president. But the truth is that the way our politicians play politics, I think the people come last, if you just want to be sincere. As it is now, the people come last. Unfortunately so, we come last in their considerations. So to the extent that we come last in their considerations, they don't want to make any reasonable sacrifice for the sake of the people. We need to acknowledge that. We shouldn't pretend about these things. And if we acknowledge that the people come last and that they don't look at our welfare, I've said it before, and how we feel and all that, then what it means is that, long story short, Mr. President may not prioritize this issue to the extent that you're thinking about. I mean, if he had prioritized this issue as a person, he has enough influence the way Nigeria works to call certain persons and advise them to back down, not just casually, but explain that, see, bros, I don't think I like what is happening. It's not good for Nigeria as a nation. The optics may not be good for the foreign investors who are trying to attract. It's not good for our politics. It's not good for the perception of both local and international observers about stability of the polity in Nigeria. When investors want to go to a nation, they check certain things. And one of the things they check is political stability. So please, we have to resolve this thing. And then in resolving it, you have to look at principles, not interests and alliances. Principles. So what do principles say? For instance, one principle state now is Fubara. So he should be allowed to make choices and lead. Why? Because if he fails, then he takes the blame. If he succeeds, he takes the glory. So by virtue of the fact that he's already occupying the position, he should be allowed to function fully without encumbrances. That is a principle that nobody should take away anything from. And if you extrapolate and say, oh, this principle is true, then it means that any dispute, action, inaction, anything that will compromise the capacity of the governor to function as a governor should not be allowed to encumber the governor. And if you agree that this is true, then what it means is that anybody, whether you assisted him or not, who in any way is an impediment to the proper function of the governor in his duties as a governor, then the person should make room for the governor to function. The person should step aside. The person should basically even support the governor to succeed in public interest. That is what we all think should be happening. I mean, even if you're a godfather and you put your godson there, the natural thing to do is to help your godson succeed. Help means help. It doesn't mean direct, instruct. It means help. So your godson decides the direction he's going, how he wants to do it, then you assist him go in that direction. That is what governance should be. Unfortunately, that's not what it is in Nigeria. Unfortunately so. I think Mr. President can do more, but that is if he prioritizes the problem. Unfortunately, like I said emphatically, we come last in the considerations of politicians in Nigeria. The people come last. They consider every other thing that is politically expedient before they consider the people. And to that extent, this problem is not going to be solved easily, except there is some kind of powerful intervention that will make our political players sit up. As it is now, these guys are struggling for the heart of Rivers State. And when I say the heart, I don't mean the emotions. I mean what makes Rivers tick. And that is the power and the money. Yes, the finance. Rivers has a very big wallet. If you have wallet of Rivers State, it's a major political addition to your arsenal in Nigeria. That is, it's
in your political relevance.
Addition to arsenal in Nigeria. That is, you can mobilize resources beyond rivers if you have rivers in your pocket. So when for instance, the former governor of Rivers State said he was not supporting Atiku, and he was supporting the
president, Tinubu.
The president. Of course, you know, it meant a lot to Mr. President. He went to Lagos and you saw what he did with cash and support in Lagos for Sanwo-Olu. If you are an impoverished state, you don't go doling out money all over the place because you are supporting candidates. So if you have Rivers State, you have, as it were, a massive cash reserve with which to play politics. And our politics has been monetized long ago. So this is deeper than we are looking at. You're looking at governance, you're looking at the people. That is the true position. That's what it ought to be. But that's not what it is in Nigeria. They're not looking at all of that. They are looking at 2027 already. Some of them are looking at beyond 2027. And they are looking for weapons. And one of the greatest weapons they use in Nigeria is cash. And Rivers has plenty of the cash. And that is what is playing out here. So they're not going to back down easily. APC won't back down easily. PDP won't back down easily. The individuals who are looking for this cash won't back down easily. Why do you think the 27 lawmakers are going through all of this? You think they are going through all of this free of charge? No, they are not. I can say that authoritatively, they are not. They have expectations, but beyond expectations, I'm sure that they have personal considerations that is making them make all the sacrifice. I'm sure that relations will say, be careful. Don't you think you can stop it? But there's something stronger. There's an influence that is stronger than just the caution that is driving them to do all of what they are doing. And the same thing for the other side. So they are doing what I called earlier, ego. That is the fight for the supremacy of the ego, and ego, the fight for money. That's what is going on. It's not going to be resolved easily, I can tell you.
All right. This just put a lot of things into perspective. I hope the listeners understand what's going on at the moment. Let's move on from Rivers State politics and look at what's happening here. We're seeing organized labor on Sunday night announced yesterday that they would shut down offices of the NERC and discos nationwide, and they said that the offices would be under lock and key until the federal government accedes to their request on total reversal of electricity tariff hike. Meanwhile, on one hand, we are having the IMF telling the federal government to remove the subsidies, either electricity or fuel subsidies of any kind. So these are two warring, conflicting opinions at the moment, dragging the federal government one way or the other. What do you think about this?
Well, I think the electricity problem is it shouldn't have even existed in the first place. Because if you say you have bands and band A or band B or whatever band is supposed to pay a particular amount of money, then the first question is, are you really supplying 20 hours of power consistently? If you're not supplying that much power consistently, then you don't have the moral right or the moral standing or even legal standing to ask them to pay that special amount of money. I don't think there's anywhere in Nigeria that you can get 20 hours of supply non-stop. It doesn't happen anywhere in Nigeria from public power supply. The truth is that we have to stop putting the cart before the horse. If we want to do that kind of thing, which in my opinion is not even fair, because it amounts to discrimination, breaking the rules. There are processes for increasing a tariff, which NLC said, and then why ask some people to pay more? You are giving them more power. Okay, did you follow due process? Did you make consultations with stakeholders? So some of these things are things that we should be looking at. And if you want to really look at it objectively, I think the government should review the whole conundrum. Just bringing the money down a little is not good enough. It's not good enough. I think they should probably do a total reversal. And then after the total reversal, they have to now begin to look at how do we do these things properly. For me, step number one is that if you're going to charge me more money, improve the services you render. If you improve the services you render, then I'll gladly pay you more. It's simple. If you give me better services and ask me to pay more money, naturally I will be inclined to pay more money. But if you give me services that are still defective and you ask me to pay more money so that you use my money to improve the services, naturally I will not be very happy, because I may pay you all that more money and you don't improve the services. The problem with Nigeria is that we put the cart before the horse. We just do things the way we like. Once you give a Nigerian power, most Nigerians, not all of us do, you find out that the person uses the power arbitrarily. This is what I want to do. We don't go and look at the rule books to say, what does the rule book say? I mean, we have a constitution. We're in a democracy. We should have the rule of law. So if the rule says, before you increase power tariff, make consultations, labor and other stakeholders, did they make consultations? No. And we need to begin to ask questions about whether our politicians really understand the concept of democracy and the rule of law. Because if the people who are supposed to be our role models consistently breach the law without minding what we think, then how do they begin to advise ordinary citizens to respect the law? I don't know if they understand the implications of the thing they do. So I think Labour has every moral right to insist on this whole new tariff being reviewed. But I think the government should not wait until we waste a lot of time and energy and man hours. I think they should first of all learn to consult before the act, so that we don't have to go through. I mean, this is almost like a road we go through every day now. Every day they do something. There's a quarrel. They will go back and settle. Then they do another one. They need to know that people are now angry. Our eyes are wide open. We don't want to bully into acceptance of things we don't want to accept anymore, as long as not consistent the provisions of the law. So we need to actually get to that point where politicians will review actions before they take them, so that we don't have to they pay with our man hours, pay with our resources. All this movement that labor leaders make, it costs money. We are wasting resources, especially time. We are wasting energy. We are being distracted from governance. So I think our leaders can do better. Because what I notice is that this administration is very good at looking for money everywhere, turning everything upside down, just looking for money all over the place. But sometimes you can find money when you sit down and then plan how to manage your resources and how to deploy your strengths that have been lying fallow, that have been lying idle. That's a better way to look for money than running around like a bull in a China shop, trying to damage the peace of the nation because you're looking for money. Today you check a tariff for power. Tomorrow you want to change what is it called again? What we pay for transactions. The next day you want to increase value-added tax. I don't understand how people can be making these choices so quickly in succession, knowing fully well the way Nigerians feel. That are not just the way we feel, but the fact that we are under intense financial pressure and the emotional pressure. This is not a good time to making these mistakes. This is a good time to sit down and behave in a way that will help Nigerians believe that these choices are made in their interest. And when they have that belief that the choices are made in their interest, then they can begin to support government to succeed. But the situation where we are trying to grapple with decisions and you're making other decisions that are inimical to our progress, then I don't know how they want to grow the economy and grow the nation.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for your thoughts on these conversations this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gessie, and I hope that, I sincerely hope that as we have these conversations and people keep talking about these things, that the political leaders will measure the public opinion, the pressure that it exerts, and then take actions. I'm glad that Mr. President is said to have suspended the implementation of the
cybersecurity levy.
Yes, the cybersecurity levy and all of that. But the truth is that I believe he can do more by, first of all, asking all his subordinates to check, look before you leap. Don't just jump into public space and say, oh, we want to do this. Start with checking what the law says, checking the mood of the people, taking the social impact and economic impact of the things you want to do. It is after you have done your proper checks, it is after you have done the needful, after you have done all of these things as a leader that you can now implement. You don't just jump up and say because you're president or governor, you do what you like and assume that it doesn't matter. It does matter after all. No leader can succeed without the people. I repeat, no leader can succeed without the people. The only way a president or a governor can succeed is by mobilizing the people to line up behind him or her and then help drive the vision. So my hope is that they're listening to the voice of the people and that they will behave in a way that the people, like me and you, we queue behind them and help them succeed.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry. Have a wonderful day ahead.
And you too, have a wonderful week.
All right. To you listening, thank you so much for being a part of the Front Page Review, VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire. We'll do this again tomorrow, 7 a.m. sharp, all the way from 6:30, the morning ride starts, down till 11 a.m. So it's going to be a packed morning. Do stick around for all that conversation. Good morning.